Hey there, I'm Maddie Gardner at the WBTV News Now desk. It is Friday, and in just a little more than 24 hours, an epic matchup in college basketball is going to be happening in New Orleans. Of course, I'm talking about the Final Four game between the Carolina Tar Heels and the Duke Blue Devils. We are so happy you are watching this special Road to the Championship, streaming us on WBTV News Now. If you are watching us on Facebook, we would love to hear from you. Check out our viewer poll here at the bottom of your screen. Which team are you pulling for this weekend? If you are in North Carolina, you've probably chosen a side by now. If you grew up here, you probably had to choose a side by kindergarten, Duke or UNC. We would love to hear from you. A lot of action in New Orleans already. In fact, both teams headed to the Superdome today to get a practice in on the court before they play tomorrow in front of a packed crowd of nearly 78,000 fans. You know it is going to be deafeningly loud. And our sports director, Nate Wimberly, is there. He was at the practice today and heard from the players and the coaches of both teams. First, he is breaking down what he saw today from the Carolina Tar Heels.
Being inside the Superdome has been an eye-opening experience for the North Carolina Tar Heels, but also an aha moment. Yes, they are in the Final Four.
I'm just caught in awe. I just see the Final Four. I see New Orleans. I see St. Banners, and you can see how big the Superdome is.
And it's those kinds of feelings that has Coach Davis checking in on his players.
And so to see those smiles, even Caleb said, every seat is going to be filled in our game. I said, yes. And he says, are there going to be people at the open practice? I said, yes. And he came back again. He goes, all these seats are going to be filled for the game? I said, yes. I said, is that okay? Because I'm looking to play you a lot of minutes. Are you going to be all right here, okay? And he was like, yeah, coach, yeah. And I was like, okay, I just want to make sure because I need you to make some buckets.
It's more about maintaining our composure. Don't get too rattled. And just, go out there and have fun and just play Carolina basketball and play together.
We're literally looking for a fight. It's going to have to be that way. It's Final Four, championship on the line, and they right down the road from us back home. So we don't want to see the confetti, dropping for them, down the road. We want to make sure that's ours.
Yes, the Tar Heels do not want to see the Duke blue and white confetti falling at the end of the weekend. Of course, the two will face off tomorrow just before 9 o'clock in New Orleans. And Duke was also in the Superdome today practicing. We heard from players, including head coach Mike Krzyzewski. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
I don't know if surprise is we've set high goals for our program every year. And then the season is about, are you worthy enough? Have you earned it? And so surprise is not the word. I think we've earned it.
Yeah, it was a pretty business-like practice for the Duke Blue Devils. A lot of that is because they do remember what happened to them back on March 5th when North Carolina came into Durham and beat Duke in Coach K's last home game. With that behind them now, though they have played well and they have been dominant at times, they are showing up in the postseason, and the Duke Blue Devils certainly look ready for tomorrow night's matchup. It is set to be a good game either way. No matter what rank these teams come out in the regular season or the postseason, you can always expect Duke and North Carolina to be a great matchup. This is not just a North Carolina story. It is a national story, and our CBS sports reporters have been breaking it down for us. Let's turn now to Tracy Wolfson. She is with CBS Sports. She's talking about the matchup. She actually spoke to Roy Williams, former Tar Heels head coach, just this week. Take a listen.
So I talked to Roy Williams, and he had said to me he would not have retired had he not realized that Hubert Davis was ready for this job. And I thought that was saying a lot. And there was a lot of speculation throughout the season on whether he was right for it and whether he was the right guy. And he proved that he is. And I think the team needed some time to get to know kind of like his way and for them all to gel. And they found their footing. They really did. They found their footing. And I think the biggest thing their confidence came from certainly was winning on the road in Cameron to end the season. And when you looked at that game, also they showed what they can do to win. And they're really difficult to stop when they are playing at that level and continuously, like we said, on that side of the ball, both sides of the ball, but also, they are really disruptive offensive team. I mean, when you think about what they could do inside with Baycott, Brady Manick and what he's been able to bring. Caleb Love can shoot the lights out. RJ Davis at the point. I mean, you got so many, threats, and you think about this team, and I think they're really dangerous, but I think you're right. They found something in that win. Confidence does a lot for teams, especially down the stretch. And so I think they found a lot. They were on the bubble, and then they went in and they performed how they should. And here they are with another chance at Duke. And then on the flip side, you talk about this Duke team. And as Mike Krzyzewski said, they were not in a good place at that UNC game. Certainly a lot of pressure. And he even said it, undue pressure that he put on them that they had to deal with. And, after the game, saying that game was, unacceptable. The result was unacceptable. And I think it was kind of a wake up call. And what they needed to do was go back to the drawing board a little bit. And they even struggled in that ACC tournament, found their way, defense and communication. And that was the two things that he preached to them. And the practices leading up to the first round, and we certainly did that first round game, he said, were lights out. They found something. They communicated. They dedicated themselves more to the defensive side of the ball. He inserted Jeremy Roach into the starting lineup, something that they needed, someone who's going to be a tremendous defender at the top, but also be aggressive and take it to the hole. And so that's what you've seen. And talk about confidence. They learned how to win and learned how to win tough. And playing against these difficult defenses like Texas Tech and Arkansas, but it did start at Michigan State. I think what they found at Michigan State to beat a team of that caliber, led by Tom Izzo, to be behind, to have to deal with those down 5 with 5 to go and be able to come back. I mean, I just think was an incredible performance and certainly has taken them to another level.
And UNC and Duke, no strangers. They are actually pretty common foes. Take a look at their history here. They have played each other 257 times. UNC does lead that series 142 games to 115, but we know this season the teams split those games. Duke was able to defeat UNC at home, and then UNC returned the favor by heading over to Cameron just about a month ago now and defeating Duke on their home court. So a lot of history goes into that. And you know what? Someone who has covered most of it, our very own Steve Crump. Steve, thank you for coming on and talking about this.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, okay, so about 30 years now you've been covering this rivalry.
It's been quite intense. Actually, longer than that in terms of Duke in the Final Four. I remember 1986 when they played my beloved University of Louisville Cardinals and lost. I was happy, but that was the team that had Jay Billis on it and some of the other folks. But the fact of the matter is, you go back to 1991, Indianapolis, the RCA Hoosier Dome. I happen to be covering it, along with our former sports director, Paul Cameron. And that was the scenario where you could have had the perfect storm then, but it didn't happen because both Duke and UNC were in the Final Four. Duke plays UNLV. They ended up winning because UNLV had beaten them in 1990 for the national championship. But Carolina loses to Kansas. So it ends up being a Duke-Kansas game. And so that kind of took a lot of the suspense and, I guess subplots out of that whole situation.
Yeah. So we were almost in the same situation.
Exactly.
Decades ago.
And they were in different brackets.
Right.
Yeah. They were.
Now we're on the same side.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. Well, we went into the archives. We found your report from 1992, Steve, when you covered Duke's win for CBS News. So we're going to play that story for folks now.
Back in Durham, the home of the Blue Devils, as Steve Crump of Charlotte affiliate WPTV reports, they didn't wait for the final buzzer to start whooping it up.
Festivities well underway as the final seconds tick off the game clock. Bonfires during NCAA tournaments have become an accepted way of life on the Durham campus. But this time there's an added reason to get caught up in the moment because of the team's back-to-back championships.
All I gotta say is that number one, baby. How do you feel? Fantastic! Number one, dude!
Unrestricted emotion as people danced in the streets well into the morning. Although the celebration did turn ugly when a student was hit in the head with a flying object. It is a history-making moment on this campus. The first time in almost 20 years a college team has repeated by winning the grand finale of the Final Four.
This has been having the best night. I mean, it's about time. We won it 2 times in a row.
Those caught up in this early morning celebration say the victory tastes sweeter the second time around. Fans are already thinking about next season, hoping the Blue Devils will make it 3 in a row.
I'm a sophomore, and so far Duke is undefeated in the NCAA tournament.
Right,
I'm hoping for 2 more years of undefeated NCAA tournament action.
Fans saying the big win signals the beginning of a dynasty, and students are looking for more gold at the end of future tournaments. Steve Crump for CBS News, Durham, North Carolina.
I think they were excited. They seemed excited there.
Slightly, yeah. And that kind of revelry continues. It used to be in some places, they hang toilet paper in the trees.
Right.
But, you could see when we were on the Duke campus that people were like taking furniture out of dorms and throwing them into the fire. So couches, chairs, dining furniture and the like. So, there's an interesting way of people saying, we're number one.
Yeah, they breathe basketball on that campus. There is no doubt, and there's a lot that goes into this rivalry. The schools are so close together. They have that tight, close series for the regular season.
Well, the boys from Tobacco Road, as some people will call them, and even in as much as Krzyzewskiville,
right.
and Cameron compared to the Smith Center is very small. I mean, there's fewer than 10,000 seats, at Duke, but you go to the Dean Dome, you got, roughly twice that many, easily. And so in that vein, finding a place to get a seat at Cameron, it's sacred space up there.
And it gets rowdy. So you're mentioning the Dean Dome. Steve, you were there in 2005 when UNC returned after their national championship win, and we can't play a Duke story without playing a story about a Tar Heel win. So we're going to look at your report from
the equal time rule here.
Yeah, we have to. It's just like politics, right? If
Absolutely.
you have one shade of blue, you have to have the other. Let's watch this one.
A rock star's welcome for the newest national champions.
From Clinton, Maryland, Ty Lawson. And from Poplar Bluff, Missouri, Tyler Hansbrough, the winningest active coach in college basketball, Roy Williams.
Coach Roy Williams acknowledged the moment and looked ahead at what the future could hold.
If I'm lucky enough to coach another 20 years, it's going to be awfully hard for kids to give me the memories that this club did.
The seniors were given the floor one last time. Tyler Hansbrough was brief and to the point.
Thanks for all the support from you guys. Thanks a lot.
Danny Green opted for audience participation. It was the end of a journey for many, including UNC graduate Vinay Sahani, who drove up from nearby Cramerton.
We're thrilled to be here. Another national championship under our belt.
Official crowd estimates for the homecoming celebration, more than 13,000. And while some fans continue to bask in the moment, they're all still waiting for one more banner high up in the rafters. From Chapel Hill, Steve Crump, WBTV, on your side.
And you know what, Steve, I said that was 2005, but that was actually 2009. I was just watching that back when you panned up to the banners and we saw Tyler Hansbrough. So that had to be 2009 there.
It was 2009. But, you talk about the situation here because there's so many storylines. I mean, the fact that this is Coach K's swan song,
right.
And it's like so many eyes are on him. But the beauty in this to me has been watching Hubert Davis grow, mature as a first-year head coach. And then, especially during the tournament, when you see some of the games on network television, you've had Roy Williams looking like a proud papa.
Right.
And
right
so
behind the bench
exactly,
in those cases.
Exactly. Probably wanting to get out there himself, but there was an interview where I saw Coach Roy basically say, it's more nerve-wracking to watch it as a spectator than it is to be on the bench telling the team what to do.
I can't imagine. I mean, I'm sure he's nervous, and then we saw that moment when UNC punched their ticket to the Final Four, and Hubert Davis points back at Coach Williams in the stands. So there's definitely that respect and appreciation.
Yeah, and I think it's the passing of the torch. I mean, it's kind of interesting when we were on our 6 o'clock show tonight. what a lot of people don't realize is that this is the 65th year, the 65th anniversary of UNC winning its first national championship under Frank McGuire, going back, when you can see it in black and white film, I might add. But the reality is there's been this whole long legacy, and especially going all the way when you go through just such a litany of coaches that have had connections to UNC. I mean, Coach Bill Guthridge, you had Doherty, you've got apparently Hubert in the mix now. And so, it's still a family within a family in many ways.
So after years of covering both teams at some of their highest moments, I mean, you've been with them through national championships and Final Fours and such, how would you explain what's going to happen tomorrow night?
Great question. In the context of, it gets intense in the ACC tournament, and there have been plenty of times that they've played, but this is for all the marbles, as the saying goes. I mean, I'm sure that there's some people, and I could be wrong, but I'm sure that there's some people that view tomorrow night's game as intense, and I'm sure some people are saying, forget about Monday.
Yeah, we can't think about it yet.
Yeah, Monday's icing on the cake. But to the victor goes the spoils, and in that regard, it's one of those things where there's a lot of people that's going to be basically weighing their fortunes on tomorrow. And as far as I've been to a couple of Final Fours. I mean, even going back to I guess shameless promotion of my University of Louisville Cardinals, where the times that I've been to Final Fours, I could get a ticket for under $200, like on StubHub.
You get that now.
That's not happening. No.
Tens of thousands for the
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's one of those things of where the market is one of those forces that's driven everything up.
Yeah. Well, Steve, thank you so much for coming on here, talking about the road to the championship.
Oh, glad to be here.
We really appreciate it. Actually, I'm going to air an interview now with some current future journalists, some student journalists at UNC Chapel Hill. They report for the Daily Tar Heel for the sports article there, and they are down in New Orleans. Steve, I got a chance to talk to them earlier about what it's like to be covering the Tar Heels this season. So we're going to check out that interview now.
All right, very good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
You have both covered the men's basketball team throughout the entire season. Did you think that you would be in New Orleans covering the Final Four with them?
No. I'll be honest. We all knew this team was really talented, and we all knew there were a lot of potential X factors, a lot of things that could change throughout the season. But I mean, I'll be honest, I never thought I was going to be here in New Orleans covering UNC in the Final Four. There were a lot of moments in the season where things looked a lot dicier than even that. But I think just the ability to, follow this team for so long and see how they've grown and progressed, and kind of seeing them hit their best run of form of the season in the time when it mattered most, starting with the first game of the NCAA tournament against Marquette, and coming all the way here through teams like Baylor and UCLA, and of course the Cinderella St. Peter's Peacocks. That's been their best run of form all season, I think, without a doubt. And so it should be exciting to see how that kind of what that becomes against a team like this.
Right. And I mean, this team has faced Duke twice in the regular season, lost at home, but defeated them on the road in Cameron for Coach K's last game. Do you think that is going to play into this matchup? And what do the Heels need to do to beat Duke tomorrow?
Yeah, well, it was actually crazy. I was actually the one covering that game in Cameron, and with how the first game went, obviously Duke came out, and I guess in basketball terms, threw the first punch. That's what Hubert Davis has been sort of preaching all season, and the Tar Heels got into an early hole. But I think in the second game, UNC came out aggressive, and that's going to be a super big key for tomorrow's matchup, because even though Duke was able to use its talent to withstand that run and pull ahead late in the first half, UNC was on sort of damage control and limited it, and was able to sort of pull away at the end in Cameron. But I think tomorrow, with the all the hype surrounding the game, I wouldn't be surprised if both teams came out a little over aggressive, trying to really establish their will early on. But I think by the time the second half rolls in and both teams sort of find their rhythm, the last couple minutes are going to be really must-see TV and should live up to the hype that it's been promoted thus far. But I think, UNC just needs to withstand Duke's star power and just sort of play control, limit their turnovers. Sounds cliche, but just make shots, and they should have a chance to guess, pull off the slight upset.
Right. So you're both journalists, but you're also students at Chapel Hill. So what's the atmosphere been like on campus, and what was it like on Sunday when UNC clinched their ticket to New Orleans?
I mean, it was kind of wild. I was sitting there watching the St. Peter's game with some friends in the office, and when the game ended, obviously the office is right on Franklin Street. So, there are bars and restaurants everywhere that were full of people. And I mean, at that victory and at the, the idea of, going to the Final Four to play Duke for the first time ever in the NCAA tournament, I mean, it sounded like people were kind of gearing up to rush Franklin Street, which is like, hey, they usually save that for other occasions. But I mean, I think that just goes to show how wanted the excitement was. I mean, how high people's energy was. And it's kind of been that way all week. I went on campus yesterday and was getting some kind of student reactions, and everyone, even if they don't watch basketball, they said, their TVs are going to be tuned tomorrow night.
Yeah, a lot of excitement on UNC Chapel Hill's campus, and just about 10 miles down the road on Duke University's campus as well. It's got to be exciting for all the students who are in New Orleans this weekend. But you know what? People in Charlotte and the Carolinas are certainly getting ready for the matchup as well. We sent Sarah Blake Morgan out to Uptown Charlotte today to ask people, UNC or Duke? And we also want to hear what you're saying. Weigh in on our Facebook poll here. Who do you have winning tomorrow night? And let's take a look at how the rivalry played out in Charlotte for Sarah Blake today.
Being a North Carolinian can be defined by one question for some.
Do you have any thoughts on the game?
There are a lot of rivalries, but none that are quite like UNC and Duke.
I've always been a UNC fan. I just grew up around it, my whole family.
A day before the Tar Heels and Blue Devils tip off in New Orleans, nerves are already pulsing through Uptown Charlotte.
My heart, I don't know if I can take it.
While fans are picking sides, Duckworth's Grill and Tap House is eager to welcome both shades of blue.
The Battle of Tobacco Road hits March Madness all in one time, and it's the first time in history.
Hugo San Martano has been in the restaurant industry for 40 years.
It might be the biggest crowd we've had in a while, maybe ever. I mean, this is a big deal in North Carolina for us.
Especially after the long lull that came with the pandemic.
Get us back to old times again.
Every fan has a story behind their why.
I've been watching Duke since I was probably like 10 or 12.
Why did you start watching them in 5th grade and not the Tar Heels?
I think the girl that I liked at the time was a big Duke fan, so I had to do what I had to do.
Some transplants are still getting the hang of North Carolina life.
I know that Michael Jordan is the owner of the Hornets.
Yes, but we're talking about college basketball.
Oh, see? Oh my gosh.
But even this Californian is picking a side tomorrow.
I'm going to say Duke. Okay.
Yeah, whether you chose your team based off your 5th grade crush or who your family's been rooting for years, people are certainly picking a side. Sarah Blake, thanks for that comedic relief. I'm sure a lot of people are anxious about tomorrow's matchup. It will take place, of course, inside of the Caesars Superdome. I want to give you a look at what the court is shaping up to be. And it's so funny because when you put a basketball court in these huge arenas, it looks so small, but certainly a big stage for college basketball. The Superdome, no stranger to hosting the Final Four. This will be their 6th time. The 5 times before, North Carolina has won 2 championships. So in 1982, that's the first time it was in the Superdome. UNC took home the title. That's also when Michael Jordan made that famous jump shot. If you remember, in 1987, the games were back in New Orleans. Indiana took the title. Then the Tar Heels were back in 1993 to get the trophy and the banner. In 2003, Syracuse took home the win. And then the last time the Superdome hosted, 10 years ago in 2012, when the Kentucky Wildcats were the champions that year. And you have to take a look outside now. This is what it's looking like in New Orleans on Bourbon Street here. You can see a lot of people walking through there. Now, I have been monitoring this live camera throughout the day, and I've seen some Final Four fans trickle through. I know a lot of people are down there excited to watch some basketball, and if fans were there today, they could have stopped by Fan Fest. Our sister station, WVUE, is giving us an inside look at all the action for Fan Fest.
what's great about the Final Four Fest is that anyone can be an athlete, whether they're 4-year-old, 40-year-olds, or 60-year-olds. It really doesn't matter. All you need is to have some spirit, and a little bit of hope. It's about 40,000 square feet of nothing but interactive booths, games, giveaway prizes, just so much fanfare under all one roof. And it isn't just the only action here in New Orleans for the Final Four. There's actually going to be a weekend concert out in Waldenburg Park. There's going to be so many little pockets of parties and tailgates and shops where everyone can really participate in. I spoke with one organizer who says that they can't wait to see so many smiling faces throughout the next 4 days here at the convention center.
We're built to host events like this. You know, it's what New Orleans does best, and the economic impact is terrific. About 100,000 people in town. Not everybody goes to the games, but they just want to be a part of the event. So we're excited about showing them how New Orleans does it better than anyone.
And it's not just the organizers. A lot of the people here in booths are also excited to meet fans because this is the first Final Four with no COVID-19 restrictions. So people are just back and happy to be able to interact with one another yet again.
You know, we haven't been able to do this type of event and get out in front of the communities that we serve as much as we'd like to. So to be here in New Orleans in this such, friendly city with all these fans being so excited, it's just been amazing.
And we have all the information that you need to know if you plan on heading out the door to any of these activities. Just visit our website, nolaweekend.com. A lot of these things are free, but you do have to register ahead of time. So it's best that you have all that information so you know how to get around, where to get around, and what tickets you do need. But for now, reporting here at the Montreal Convention Center, Andres Fuentes, Fox 8, Local First.
Yes, excitement is certainly building both in New Orleans and at home here in North Carolina. Let's take a final look at our poll this evening. Which team are you pulling for? Of course, I'm just going by the Facebook comments here. And I do have to say it's split for the Heels and the Blue Devils. We will find out just before 9 o'clock tomorrow for this epic Final Four matchup. Thank you so much for joining us here on WBTV News Now for this special Road to the Championship 30 minutes. We are so glad you joined us, and we hope that you will stick with us because WBTV News at prime time is coming up next. You are watching WBTV News Now, streaming right now on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, the WBTV News app, and WBTV.com. Have a wonderful weekend, and good luck to both of your teams.